Brexit negotiations have seen EU figures claim the UK can have its cake and eat it, but that's exactly the arrangement Switzerland has, according to one expert. The statement was made by political analyst and expert on Swiss politics, Dieter Freiberghaus, as he gave his view on the Brexit debate in February 2016. He told the BBC, Switzerland was only interested in the economic aspect of European integration, and that we got access to the internal market. So our economy had a lot of gains. We have the cake and we eat it, at the moment. Switzerland enjoys close trading ties with the EU, meaning it has autonomy on certain aspects of trade and other policy areas. Unemployment in Switzerland has been low in recent years, and being outside the bloc has allowed the country to clinch its own personal trade deal with China, something EU members cannot do individually. Although, before the EU referendum in Britain, Swiss business leaders highlighted that the UK may not be able to achieve similar arrangements without years of haggling. Jana Teslander, European director of the Swiss Business Federation, Économie Suisse, told the BBC in 2016. Sometimes you get a good piece of a good agreement, sometimes you don't get it at all. It has advantages and disadvantages economically. You can't have it all. Precision engineering company Ruger sold 50% of its products to the EU at the time. Managing director Bernard Ruger said, compare just the logistic costs. It's simple in Europe, in terms of administration, in terms of tax, they are working in the same unique market, whereas here in Switzerland we have to export our goods. And it's probably 4 to 6% more costly exporting from Switzerland. Mr. Freiberghaus added at the time that it is difficult to tell whether the UK will look anything like Switzerland because of the vast amount of variables. He said, everyone talks about Brexit but no one has said what will happen afterwards. What about the treaties with the EU? Switzerland has 120 agreements. Will Britain begin, the day after, to negotiate 120 agreements? Will it join the European Economic Area? It is so unclear. Just like the UK, Switzerland has a complicated past with the EU. This is because Switzerland held a significant vote of their own on Europe. 24 years prior to the UK's own historic referendum, the Swiss government began the application process for the EU in 1992, but their hard work towards the objective was dashed almost immediately. In December of the same year, the country voted in a referendum on whether they wanted to join the European Economic Area (EEA). The result sent shockwaves to Brussels and Bern, as 50.3% voted against the idea, leaving the EU's hopes of expansion in tatters. In 2016, the EU's disaster was compounded. Just a week before the UK went to the polls, politicians in Switzerland voted to withdraw the country's application for membership of the EU. Current Brexit negotiations remain in a state of deadlock, as the EU and UK stand firm on securing their respective objectives. The UK's negotiator David Frost said this week a far-reaching free trade agreement could be agreed before the end of the year without major difficulties, but it was being held up by the EU's desire to bind the UK to its laws and seek unfair access to fishing waters.